Well, today's spotlight falls upon controversy, and it's not exactly a topic that I really enamored of talking about, but I felt like it was necessary. You know, you're familiar with the ongoing case at Ed Couch Elsa. Well, my goal today on the spotlight is not necessarily to adjudicate who's right or wrong, but really to talk about some of the more long-term issues involved. You know, what is the deeper meaning of the so-called scandal? Now, I'd like to do so by way of an anecdote. Uh, I want to tell you about 1992 or 3. It's been so long I can't remember. Myself and Buddy Green, the Valley Morning Star, were on probably the most absurd and worst football show in the history of TV called Valley Football Week. How ridiculous was it? Well, we used to show old game films and point with our hand on the screen. Look, watch this run. I dressed up like a turkey on Thanksgiving. Buddy was an Indian. It was absurd and it was pitiful, but we liked it. Now, you fast forward to today, and you know I'm looking around at the sheer scope, reach, and volume of the coverage that we have. And again, I'm not saying that I think that it's necessarily bad, but I do feel like there are some unintended consequences with the amount of work that we do in the media. So, you know, you can juxtapose Valley Football Week on one hand. There was no internet back then. There was no chat rooms. There was no constant 24/7 chatter. So I think that's the thing that really strikes me the most from the Ed Couch Elsa case. You know, what if it was the case that if we put so much emphasis and so much coverage on sports that people begin to take it too seriously? You know, one might suggest that one of the reasons why, if indeed Ed Couch is guilty, maybe they feel a ton of pressure to win. And where does that pressure come from? Well, from boosters, from fan clubs, from the coaches themselves. The fact is, I just feel like the whole thing, the whole shooting match, the entire deal of high school football is starting to become excessive. And again, you may say, well, wait a minute, friend, how are you saying that? Because you're the guy who's made it happen. And I agree. I am complicit to a great extent in what I call the over-coverage of high school football. But I think it's really more than that. I think it's an over-coverage and an excess in almost every area of life. And on that, I would probably say that technology is most to blame. In other words, we have the capability of doing all these things, the television, the internet, the newspaper, ad infinitum. You know, it just isn't the same as it was when I got into the business back in the old days. And that's not to say that it's better or worse in many respects. Hey, I mean, kids deserve credit for doing a good job. You know, they deserve the name in the paper occasionally. That's kind of how it works. My problem is that, you know, this isn't the Pittsburgh Steelers down here. It's Lyford. It's Roma. And so, you know, I love those towns and I love those kids, and that's why I got into the business. But sometimes I feel like we're doing so much work, so much excessive, repetitive coverage that we're also generating in the fans and the boosters and the parents some negative aspects to the whole deal too. I mean, you know, the number of photographers that are on the sidelines, the number of parents that are in everybody's face demanding this and that and taking 19,000 videos of, you know, someone standing there. I just sometimes feel like the game itself and the easy things, you know, the natural essence of what we used to have has changed. And again, I'm not telling you that I think that you need to say yay or nay to Joe Solis. I'm not telling you that I think you need to say yay or nay to Channel 4, Channel 5, Fox. But when TV stations, when networks start to bid on contracts for schools to televise games, I just think that's a little excessive. And I'm not throwing my colleagues under the bus, and I'm part of this deal, and I'm in it to win it this year. I'm not so sure I'm going to be in it next year. And the simple reason is I think we're overdoing it. And so why did Ed Couch get in trouble? Well, because they wanted to win too bad. Guys, this is an election year. These 16-year-old kids can't vote, they can't go to war, they can't buy beer, and we're making them into superstars. I think we need to lay back, kick back, and just let them play the game and get their grades and be decent people, and that's it. Now, I'll be back next week with a spotlight that hopefully is a little more positive. I just wanted to give you some food for thought out there. Thanks for putting up with me.